Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I would like to talk today about psychological warfare operatives, how to spot them, how to spot what they're up to, and how to counter them. But before I do so, let me just throw a very, very quick glance at the here at the video, just to make sure that you guys can hear me. Throw a very, very quick glance. Ah, okay, you can hear me. Okay, I am not sharing my screen today because it's 9 a.m. and I haven't slept the entire night. And yeah, so you don't need to see me right now because I look very tired. But what I want you to do is also focus. So today I switched off the chat because this is a talk about psychological warfare operatives, and I really don't want psychological warfare operatives to detract from my message in the chat for once. So I want us all to just focus on what's ahead and really cast our minds back to everything each one of us victims has already experienced, or if you're not a victim, if you have come across any sort of manipulation, because chances are you have. And typically, psychological warfare operatives have been placed and paid to prevent you from doing something. And it's a kind of soft force. So if you like, directed energy weapons, bio warfare, stuff that makes you ill and kills you, that's kind of like hardcore warfare, okay? Well, bullets are really hardcore. Stuff that kills you is hardcore. Stuff that makes you ill but you recover is kind of the middle option. And stuff that causes you pain but doesn't leave any traces is like the low-level war option. And the psychological warfare is considered to be the soft option, okay? And because it doesn't kill you, the intelligence agencies really go OTT with it because they think that psychological warfare is not against the Geneva Conventions. But in actual fact, psychological warfare can be devastating, and it can lead people into suicide, into despair and suicide. So it is very, very important that you don't just think about your shielding from directed energy weapons. You also think actually twice as hard about your shielding against psychological warfare operatives, because the intelligence agencies are going to be putting it on really thickly because they think they can get away with it. Okay. And it happened to all of us that these operatives got to us one way or another. And some of it is very sneaky and it just slips in. Other stuff is really in your face, like defamation campaigns, and heck knows I had to share, a share of that myself. But in every single case, the most important thing is to just remember who you are, what you stand for, and stay calm and level-headed. Okay? Whatever these people throw at you, they are trying to introduce a type of roller coaster, and up and down. So one of the things I use to recognize, CIA style psychological operatives is because they will put on a lot of drama. Drama is CIA 1.0. So any sort of big hoo-ha, big emotional ups and downs, big changes, massive U-turns, massive fallouts, and this and that is straight out of the CIA operational handbook. Okay, so try to avoid all of this. Avoid it in your family, avoid it in your relationships, and just try to think that you have to be the ship that sails through a hurricane with massive waves, and you just have to stay on course. And these waves might try to toss you left and right, but it doesn't matter. You just stay the course, you stay afloat, and you stay the course through the storm. Okay, this is the whole idea behind it at the core. But then there are many, many different styles of psychological warfare operatives. If I open YouTube and I go to any of my past videos, I could do an exercise where we go through and we analyze all the different messages and who might be an operative, a paid operative, who might be a disinfo agent, and who might be a genuine victim. Okay. And you get a mix of these people, but after a while you can spot them. And it's not just their signaling, you can spot them from how they operate, and you can also guess what they're trying to do. So anyway, I want to take a couple of examples that have really, really tried to get under my skin. And I want to talk about psychological operatives who were coming at me via email. And you might think that, via email is actually really harmless. It's not as, far reaching as Twitter, maybe, or social media. They really struggle to recruit a very large number. I mean, you can have email lists of maybe 100 people. That would be a large email list, but you can easily tweet to people, several thousand people at the same time. So with social media, you can in principle cause much more damage than with classical email, But still, let's take this as a practice round, okay? And I want to explain to you what has happened and why these people really started affecting me. And I had to lean back and I had to analyze what the hell's going on. And then I had to, really, kind of take stock of what I want, what these people want, how we're at cross purposes, and how I'm going to shut this out of my life, okay? And you have to do something very similar. Now, this is an easy exercise, okay? And I want to show you where you get to this material. It's all on my website under Psychological Warfare Operatives. And I'm now in the phase where I'm uploading evidence for court and evidence to start charging people. So I'm naming names and I'm actually uploading evidence. And I think this is very important because I don't want to talk to you about hypothetical stuff that might happen. I want to talk to you about shit that happened to me last year in 2018. So these are real life examples. So first of all, you get to this page as follows. Let me just show you. You go to my website, Stop 007, and then you scroll down, okay? And this section used to be called Blood on Their Hands. And that was in the very, very early days where I thought I'm only going to upload real life, serial killers who are responsible for killing, like the military and the intelligence agencies. And then as I went along, I realized, no, actually, there's so many more people involved. So now when you click on it, there will be, I will talk about judges and lawyers and doctors and council officials and everything and police officers. Not all of them are directly responsible for killing. So I've renamed this section called Attacks and Refusal of Assistance, which is what it is, which will lead to deaths, hence the blood, right? But it's, they all have kind of indirectly blood on their hands, actually, because they don't really help. Sometimes they actively attack, but, it's kind of toned down. But in this section here, you will find people who actually directly attacked me. Okay, this is the top, and I'm going to say a lot more about those people. And then down here, you can see the psychological warfare operatives. Okay, it's this icon here. So if you click on that, you get through to this page. Okay, so this is what I want to talk to you about today. And on here, I have now outed a couple of individuals who I always say, well, if you're not working for the intelligence agencies, given what you have just done, that's really stupid because you can earn a lot of money doing what you do anyway, for them. So this is the kind of people, right? And the people I'm outing here have really behaved so out of order that I am happy coming to the conclusion that they might as well be intelligence agents. They might as well be in the employ of the intelligence agencies because what they have pulled off was exactly what the intelligence agencies would have wanted. Okay, so there we are. Now, the first person, I want to go through what my issue is with all of these people. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Horst Kummer today because he is, a topic in itself, but he has also done, quite significant damage. But I want to talk about Jochen Lambert and his, behavior, and then the email list in Germany called the Betroffenengruppe, run by Georg Pickner. And I've got huge issues with these two people. Right. And then I want to point to a third individual who has just contacted me today and how they have behaved. OK, now, if these people are not actually intel agents, I'm very sorry. But then they should also look at this and learn how really not to behave in a Holocaust, in a live Holocaust, because what they have done was just bad. Now, the last section, the cyber operatives, this will be populated by all those people on Twitter, all those funky accounts that are, as far as I can make out, in the employ of the intelligence agencies. Okay, so this page here will be built. Sorry, I'm drinking tea in the background because I am parched. So this page will be populated, and I encourage you to also maybe start your own pages where you outline what happened to you and what was done to you with names. Because now it's we're in the phase where we are, we're pulling the shots and we're saying what has been done to us and by whom exactly. And it always has to be personal, okay? It's not just random institutions doing things, it's individuals. It's always individuals. And the intelligence agencies rely on individuals and individuals' behavior against you to destroy you. So this is why it has to be, named lists. But I really encourage you to start naming people and start naming your issues with them, and maybe some things clear up. Maybe there are misunderstandings, maybe people apologize, maybe people stop what they're doing. But whichever way it goes, we have to either start outing people or people have to change their behavior, because we are now trying to stop a live genocide where people are dying every week. Okay, this is a full-on Nazi Holocaust that's in full swing, and we have no more time for bullshit. So this is the anti-bullshit coalition now, and I'm just going to pull some, public triggers on some people who have been highly out of order last year. So let's start with this guy, Jochen Lambert, okay? Now, this guy, right, I had in the beginning a lot of patience for people who came and pretended to be victims, right? And even if I had my doubts, I would hold my tongue and just play along. Now, this guy really took the biscuit, okay? Because first of all, what he started with is I think on March 15th, that's when I think, according to my email inbox, got the first email from him. And then up until the 9th of November, and actually even after that, the emails kept coming. And I mean that in, a year and a half, I got 403 unsolicited emails. Okay, this means that I got an email from this guy on average every day or every 2 days for a year and a half. Now, unless this guy is your boyfriend, this is something highly unusual. Why is somebody spamming you at this rate? And what's most telling is with these accounts that just keep spamming you is they don't get any work done. They don't suggest projects, they don't contact politicians, they don't do anything. What they do is report about the misery. And that's what this is about. So I just want to click on it. You can scroll through, and I have listed all the subjects, okay? And these are the emails from him. I'm just scrolling through here, okay? Just the ones that I got. Yeah, most of them unread because I really can't be dealing with the bullshit. But just take this in. This is just a quick listing, right? Like this. Most of them, by the way, you can see have been flagged with high priority, so you are enticed to read them. And then it goes on and on and on and on. Now, in all this, what's the outcome for victims? What's the progress in all this communication? Absolutely zero. Absolutely zero after a year and a half. Now let's look at them individually, okay? So this is a recent one. You can see that the last 2 emails, right? It was the 11th of, the 9th of November, and then I got another one on the 11th of January. Now the torrent stopped here because I made it clear I don't want to be contacted ever again. Okay, but nevertheless, I was contacted by this guy under aliases, and I will come to that. But anyway, if you just look at this, okay, sorry, this is in German. I will translate. Most of it is a random jumble of just negative news. Not all of them are related to targeting. So it starts off, let's go from the top. Okay, the first one is, a message to me that I should do more German interviews. Yes, point taken. But then again, he knows I'm super busy. So this is actually a stress point. Okay, then there was an invite that I should really come and care for horse Kummer. This is when I had enough on the 9th of November. And it even included that I should turn up in a bikini and scrub him down in a shower. So this was serious serious sexually, sexual content in the email that I really didn't appreciate. But I will come to that in greater detail. Apart from these personal messages, the messages I'm getting are, for example, about Paris, the victims of a satanic ritual abuse. Constantine Mail has a new book on neutrino power. Then some other stuff attached to me. Then it's the attacker of Kerch, a random attack on somebody. Then some victims, then Palantir in Germany, then another amok, somebody running, basically somebody running amok again, random stuff, Darknet, UK woman detained at mental health facility for claiming 5G and Wi-Fi radiation is harmful to health, attack with a knife, or an attacker with a knife should be going into psychiatry. It's just a random, Hitler's homosexuality and the secret services, the control of the female aspect of society, I guess. Henning Witte, who is a Swedish lawyer, has become fat. Okay. Pensions, couch surfing, and transporter. Is AI manipulating my computer? Like, what the flying finch is this? Okay. Now, this goes on, by the way. This is just a small excerpt of the random jumble that you get from people like that. Okay. And you can go through here, for example, menstruating with Satan. I mean, what? University of Bristol suicides. New pill for longevity or eternal life. On and on and on. So what this does is it kind of relates to the New World Order and random stuff to do with suicides and attacks and this and that. But most of the time, what it does, it clutters your brain with negativity. Okay. And then the other thing is, if you look at what rate these emails are arriving, here, 25th of July, 27th, 27th, 28th, 30th, 34th, the 31st, 11th of August, 19th of August, 20th of August, 20th. There's some days where you get 3 to 5 to 6 emails about random junk. And who on earth can keep that up for a year and a half if they are not paid? Who the hell can send mass emails about this? Now, you can, of course, say, oh, maybe it's a really confused victim. He's trying to collate information and he's trying to inform people, yada, yada, yada. Okay, right? That's what I thought in the beginning as well. I mean, by the time, you get to these emails, I already had a year of this, okay? But the point is that when it turned really nasty is when the emails turned personal against me and began to be increasingly more personal, more sexual, partially, more aggressive. And especially it turned sour when I requested not to be bothered again, the emails kept coming. And that's a telltale sign. So in the normal world, if a guy would do that and he would send you 6 emails, so up to 6 emails per day, right? He would be an obsessive stalker. If he then started, sending you emails with sexual content that you really don't appreciate, and then if you ask him to stop and he doesn't, well, that's a case of stalking. Now, this would be a normal life. This would be a creepy stalker. But we're not in the realm of normal life. We're in the realm of the intelligence agencies running amok. Now, what they do is that they simulate, psychopathic, creepy stalkers, by paying people to behave like that. And the idea behind it is that you should get the same creeped out feeling of having some freak continually email you about death and attacks and suicides and menstruating with Satan. I mean, what the flying fuck, yeah? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is now, I can confidently say, a psychological warfare operative, because he satisfied all three conditions. Number one, he came across as batshit crazy, which none of the real victims actually do. Second of all, he was extremely persistent, right? Over a year and a half, sending email after email after email as if it was his full-time job. And third of all, when I requested to be left the heck alone, he refused repeatedly. And then on top, he also turned personal and the whole thing turned sexual. So that was the fourth strike. And after 3 strikes, these people are out for me. Okay. And this is how you should operate as well in 2019, because your time is precious. You can't be wasting time with bullshit artists. Okay. So now let's go through this. So number one that you should watch for, if you have any sort of victim group that is blasting you with information, but never actually does something active, like, hey, let's get together and let's sue these motherfuckers. Unless they come up with something active, or they say, let's go to the police station, but 20 people together, and we all file our complaints and we become each other's witnesses. Now, that would be productive. If you have a list of several, I don't know how many people are on here, but if you are really messaging for a year and a half, why don't you mobilize people and start working together to put something, to organize something like a body chip scanning, or comparing measuring devices, or networking for doctors, or reaching out to doctors associations. There's a million things that you can do in a group where you really need numbers. And why do people never do that? It's because the point of these emails is not for you to become active. The point of these emails is for you to be absolutely flawed. So flawed that you never have the energy to lift a finger. Number one, it's because these messages, if you keep hearing about attacks here and attacks there, and corruption here and corruption there, you will be overwhelmed. Okay? And this is a typical technique that psychopaths use, that psychopathic serial killers use, and that the intelligence agencies use, because they are staffed by psychopaths and psychopathic serial killers. And this method is called cognitive overload. So what you see here, let me just, scroll up and down through this forest of negativity, and I'm scrolling fast, as you can see. This is the attempt to induce cognitive overload in victims, so that they just cannot handle the information. And the telltale sign is that there's so many separate fields, being blasted at you at the same time, that you cannot, unless you really have the mind of maybe John Nash, you can't possibly process this and map it and file it in your head and keep it filed. Before long, it's like what your brain will look like, a filing cabinet that just had an FBI search, go through it with all the papers strewn across the floor, like that. And that's the idea. Your brain should end up in a total mess. And the only message you should take away from this kind of operation is that the world is a mess and there's nothing you can do. So this is why it's so dangerous. And look how innocuous it is. I mean, if you don't believe me that this is the effect, please do take the bother of going right to the bottom, okay, if you speak German, and then click through, because these are all links and they open up, and just read the titles and see how many of these fields you can click through. They become active as you scroll up. So here's a field, there's a field, and so on. And see how many fields you can read before you get overloaded and you can't really list what this stuff is about. Okay? And it's so important you understand this, how this is done, because the same trick that is now very low tech. It's just using email. It's using the Chinese drop method via email. This is going to be coming at you over social media with, 10 times the speed, if not 100 times the speed. Okay? It's the same method of cognitive overload. And you have to, in your head, the way to fight this is you make your own program, and the information that fits into what is useful for you, you use, and everything else you discard. Okay? But really, I warn you of these accounts and these people, because they are not helpful. And he wasn't helpful, he wasn't helpful. When I asked him for help, which was, please, can you just, not send me these emails because you're causing cognitive overload, he just put it on even thicker. And that's a telltale sign, So basically, if you want to decide if somebody is just a really confused victim, or maybe is just a bit hapless and just does the only thing he knows how to do, or if somebody's actually trained to finish you off, a good way to do it is to just feign vulnerability. It's to say, oh, please, could you stop this because you're really hurting me? If they are then continuing, then you know that the next step you should take is kick them in the balls, right? So it is always good, and especially, I guarantee you, if it's an intel agent, and this trick has worked every single time, as soon as they sense weakness, they pounce, because they're fucked in the head, and because they're psychopaths, and because they're trained killers, most of them. So as soon as they see an opening, they make their move. And I guarantee you, with the vast majority of intel agents, you can immediately find out, their real colors by just being vulnerable or pretending to be, because these people will turn on you. Sometimes they don't turn immediately. They wait until you really look like you're on the floor, and then they start kicking you, but they do it either way. And the point is, as soon as they do, well, you just turn around and you do something really simple. You put their name and with what they have done on a public list. Okay, and you let the community deal with them. If in that moment you don't have the strength, that's okay, because these people will be ground to dust with time. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you an idea of, what to look for. So cognitive overload has to be avoided at all costs. And then if you ask somebody to please leave you alone, that's what they should do, right? Now, this guy went a step further, and by the 7th of November, he started being extremely offensive. Now, the email I got is here, and I've included all the emails so you can actually see that this is a real email. But this one was so outrageous, I took the bother of translating it here in English. So what you can read here is the English version of what was in the email. The email reads as follows. And remember, I'm organizing court cases, right? I am really trying to get stuff done. I'm trying to care for victims. I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to give consulting, and I'm really trying to campaign and starting to network with doctors. So I really don't have time for bullshit. And then this is what I get. So the email starts. Oh, and we should actually have a look, because if I remember correctly, yes, there's no hello. So the email is here from him to me on the 7th of November. No hello, no hi, Katherine, no address, not even proper fucking punctuation. And that's also an agent signal. If they can't do punctuation, it's probably cartel signaling. I mean, just look at this email, right? Boldface here and there, dense text drawn out. I mean, it's just, designed to piss you off as soon as you look at it. So let's see what he's got to say. So the email starts with, not even capitalized. Mr. Kummer, which is Mr. Care in German, urgently needs help filling out forms for his pension. If he does not hand in the forms until Monday, he will not receive any further pension until further notice, including 1,100 francs for the rent. And he does not make progress with it. It is too flat being radiated, and nobody in sight who could help him. That's why I thought he would also donate 1,200 euros to system doctors, 12 times 100 euros. But I'm afraid after all the sympathy points he has earned himself, there's no interest. And that's how it came, ... I mean, this is like literally, I'm trying to translate in English the totally disjointed German grammar. And I'm trying to make it sound just as shit in English as it sounds shit in German. And, so there we are. So imagine at this point, right, if your brain can make sense of this gobbledygook, you're doing fine, right? But on it goes. Of course, I would brief him strictly beforehand so that he only talks when he's addressed and otherwise behaves well and cooperatively. Another problem is his lack of drive to take a shower. In the 3/4 of a year, when he lived in a Fruitvillen in Torgau, he did not even once use the brand new installed shower. Before mind control, of course, normal showering behavior. Now, at this point, do I really need to know this sort of stuff? And who is this guy to slander somebody else who claims to be a victim? Okay. So on it goes. And I'm going to go through it in the most painful detail, right? Just to see what sort of shit German intel puts at my door, because I'm pretty sure this one came from German intel, and I explain to you why. So on it goes. When I was with him for 3 months in the summer of 2016, he also stank like a polecat. I didn't know this expression before. Okay. But this is like, my God. Anyway. Okay, fine. He's trying to cover it with deodorant spray. His landlady had also encouraged him several times to shower, unfortunately without success. But this rather strong odor released tremendous powers in me, despite my general wariness, which finally drove him into the shower quite regularly. But I cannot get out of the house anymore to visit him. I mean, so this is coming from a real person, okay? These emails. A normal person would read it and think this person is mentally ill. But oh, no, 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 no. This person is not mentally ill. This person is very well paid. Okay? And now comes, again, no one in sight who could help. A flat share with Walter Madliger would have been optimal, in my opinion. Then he would probably still be alive. Now, also note how unpleasant things like somebody stinking to the high heavens are being combined with death. Because Walter Madliger he died, and it looks like he was murdered by the Swiss Secret Service, by the Nachrichtendienst des Bundes. So, and that's well known, and I've spoken about it publicly. So if you go through, right, so here, unpleasantness, poor guy, he can't fill out the forms for his pensions. Oh, here we have the carrot. He would actually donate money to me, right? And he would behave really well. So the first part is all the carrots, okay? It's about trying to trigger the female instinct to help. It's trying to entice with money. And it's trying to give me hope that the guy who behaved like a total asshole in the past is now going to behave well and cooperatively. Okay, but then look, ... change of strategy. Now come, oh, he's stinking to the high heavens. Not even his landlady could encourage him. And then look at the bold face. Shower, did not shower, mind control, not showering, polecat, landlady, strong odor, and then Walter Madliger. So psychologically, you're meant to read this email, not analyzing and just following through like a rat in a maze. And you're meant to go through the, up and down roller coaster cycles of, feeling like, oh my God, let's just help him. Oh, we would get even paid for helping him. Oh, he's going to behave really fine. And then you're going to be hit in the stomach by, the association of stench and the association of death. And then comes the final blow in the final paragraph. He says, so if you could come in a bikini once a month to scrub him down in the shower, that would be wonderful. Then, of course, 600 euros would be due to system doctors, 12 times 50, hashtag sugar daddy. The required brushes are explained quite well in this horse video. And then he literally, in the email, he included a horse video, right? So I can click on it so that you know. This is about horses, a woman explaining how to use horse brushes, okay? And I think, is she talking all the time? Yeah, I think she's just sitting there and talking, okay? But it's about horses, yeah. Now, okay, oh yes, and then it goes on apparently. But I'm afraid you would not doctor around on his system. So this is the sexual innuendo here, for all the money in the world. So again, what has been induced here, right, is stench, death, me in a bikini, I would get paid, hashtag sugar daddy, therefore the association is of me being a prostitute, and then me doctoring around on his system. Okay, so again, unpleasantness. And that's how it came. If only the forms were filled, it would be enough. Like, it doesn't really make any sense, right? But if you analyze the email in great detail, you can see the method. And you can see that this method has been, and the way the modules have been put into this email, they seem to be following some sort of template, you know, devised by the fucking Stasi and being executed by a guy who's a gibbering fucking moron. If it were subtle, it might just work, but it isn't. And that's why I pulled the bullet on the trigger on this thing, on this fucking email. But, you know, what is so cack-handed here, you will get in much more sophisticated form. So what you need to remember is if you're dealing with a psychological operative, you will go through a roller coaster when you're just reading it, just because your brain works on associations. And if you're not a psychopath, part of your associations will be emotions. Now, psychopaths have got an advantage because they don't associate emotions. They don't have any. Well, apart from the immense love for themselves, which is, you know, always there. But they just read these facts and they just don't give a shit. Okay, so psychopaths read this email and they are totally unaffected because, frankly, they don't care about anybody, so they will not feel any kind of, oh, we need to help them. You know, a psychopath would look at the money and think, well, my time is worth so much more, so fuck off, and delete the email right there, you know, and wouldn't really care about the behavior of another person, wouldn't really care if this person stinks or not, wouldn't really care who died or who has been murdered and who hasn't been, and would probably just laugh at the suggestion of turning up in a bikini somewhere, you know? So a psychopath reads an email like that, and there's absolutely no emotional cost to a psychopath. If a normal person who's not totally fucked in the head reads an email like that and approaches it like a normal person, you would go through the normal thought processes. And what is normal and completely sane is to hear somebody in need and already in your mind start assessing how you can help. That's normal. That is what a healthy society should look like, right? Well, this is an attempt at bribery, but maybe you would be enticed with the money. And then, of course, you know, somebody who behaves well and cooperatively would again trigger an emotional association of, oh, we need to keep him in the herd. Okay? And here, halfway through the email, you have already been worked. Your brain and your brain chemistry has already done work for this bastard. And then the entire thing turns around. And then you are being hit. Now that your brain has engaged and has received all these little rewards, right? Because look also at the reward structure. If you have emotionally engaged with the opening and thought, oh yeah, let's just help Mr. Kummer, Mr. Care, the word cares in there, let's care for him. And if you've emotionally engaged with this, you would have received your reward here, because then you have this feeling of, oh yeah, and because I'm so nice to him, he will behave really nicely. Yeah? Without noticing, that's a brain reward. And then you're going to be punched in the stomach. And the idea is that your brain has engaged and therefore will absorb every single one of the blows that follows. Your brain will read just as attentively about the shower and if his showering behavior is normal or not, right? Then you will fully take in and actually in your mind map how the sky might stink and be revolted. And once you're at that point, you would be reminded of Walter Madliger and have a really bad sensation, maybe the one of fear, of fearing these motherfuckers from Swiss secret services, right? And remember, this is a German dude sending it to me in Switzerland. So how would I feel being reminded, of the psychopathic serial killers who are surrounding me and who have already murdered one of their own, right? And then if I would have processed this emotionally, right, then I would be basically portrayed as a prostitute here. And then there's the association of brushing somebody down like in a horse video. And then, there would be, my brain would be invited to imagine having some sort of sexual shenanigans with this guy, So this is a highly deceptive email. And it looks totally chaotic and it looks like, excuse me, like it was written by an idiot, but I can recognize the pattern. I can recognize the template. I can recognize the template that was written by professional psychopaths. And that, for me, reads intel straight away. But then again, there were also curious details in this email, because when I received it, it just so happened, what are the chances, that in just shortly before getting this email, I had actually socialized and engaged with a bunch of horses, right? I had been out and about with a bunch of horses. And after that, because as you probably have guessed, I'm also interested in analysis and body language, I have watched a couple of YouTube videos about horses trying to map their body language. Now, anybody who's watching my computer and is watching me in real life would have seen, oh, there she is out with the horses, and then she watches horse videos. And then suddenly I get an email where, brushes and horse video are on boldface. What coincidence. It looks like somebody is accessing the NSA mass surveillance data and the GCHQ databases that have pulled already all the information from my YouTube channel and has given it to this sad fuck to then write this creative email to me. And if you think that's just pure coincidence, right? If you go through the numbers 600 euros here and 1,200 euros up here are exactly the numbers. 1,200 euros were the money that we raised in September or for September for the scanning, right, with Melanie Richan. And maybe you remember that scanning went sour. And in the beginning, we had 1,200 euros, but then towards the end, we only had 600, right? And then we could only have half a day of scanning. So that is, again, a reference to something unpleasant happening not that long ago, because this was sent at the beginning of November. Hang on, let me look at the date. Yes, the 7th of November. And just, I think, 3 weeks before, I had broken off the collaboration with Melanie precisely because of these numbers, because of me and us having raised 1,000, but on my channel, 1,200 euros. And then by the time I drove to to Belgium, there were already only 600 left. So that's another unpleasantness. So what's happening here is that everything that is in boldface is meant to be a negative association. And then also, I've just moved house, and there was a long conversation I had with the landlady in the old place, which was to do with mold, and it was sufficiently unpleasant. right? That had made the list of this BND, this German Intel operative here. So as I go through everything that's in boldface and it's meant to stick in my eye, right, is meant to be somehow related to my life. And it's gradually building up to go from positive to negative. For example, here also, the 1,200 euros, it was really positive when we raised 1,200 euros. It was really negative for me when only 600 euros were left, and Melanie didn't tell me about it up until the last minute. So you can see how this email is split into two halves. And I'm sorry to labor this point, but I want you to understand and I want you to see it based on this example, how the CIA roller coaster works. So you're taken up, okay, in the first half, you're in a high, yay, all positive feelings, being human, caring for each other, doing crowdfunding and raising 1,200 euros. That's really kind of groupy and, you know, us sticking together. And then, oh yeah, people behaving well and cooperatively. Oh, that's so nicey nice. And then bam, 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 you know, people stinking, people being mind controlled, people being murdered, then, you know, you being enticed to scrub somebody down like a horse and then doctor around on his system. So, you know, very clear. Okay, so for this reason alone, I'm fairly confident this guy is a fucking Intel operative and a really shit one at that. He's even shit at his job, you know? But anyway, I'm really grateful for his service of giving us this wonderful working example so that I can explain to you guys how this works. Now, this was this cack-handed email. But you will find the same thing on Twitter. And on Twitter, typically it will be people, an onslaught of messages. So you might get, you know, several accounts messaging you really positive things, and suddenly several accounts that seem unrelated bearing down on you and maybe mauling you. If you see the seesawing, if you see this roller coaster, you need to note down the usernames of those accounts, the positive ones, but also the negative ones, both of them, because they are both involved. They are both involved in psychological operations against you. It's not just the negative stuff that's psychological operations. It's also the positive stuff, because they're trying to push you up onto a high to then bat you down even further, so that you've got a deeper emotional, you know, drop to fall down onto, you know? That's the idea behind it. So as we're moving forward and as we're collecting evidence for, you know, about these motherfuckers, I want you to know what to look for. So, of course, if it's a victim who's supporting you always and is always sending you positive stuff, you shouldn't turn on another victim, especially not if, you know, he or she's trying to support you, right? What I'm talking about is I'm talking about those dodgy accounts. Those accounts that, you know, have the name Dobby 777 and stuff like that, or have Masonic or cartel signaling. If you get a cluster of those accounts you've never seen before and they're really positive, and then suddenly you get a gang of really negative accounts with scary profile photos or weird profile photos, you have to understand that the positive lot was part of the team. If you really want to take them up, you know, all of them, and get every single one of them, you have to also start spotting the positive accounts that are also trying to manipulate you psychologically, you know? And the reason why you also have to note down the positive accounts is because in this Intel game, on another cycle, the positive accounts will become the bad accounts and so on, you know, because they play both sides. And besides, you know, typically, sometimes it's controlled by individuals, but sometimes it's the same person who's running, you know, maybe 12 or more, 40 or 60 or 80 accounts, right? And it's then mobilizing them against the victim, just posting from different accounts. So if you really want to nail down the IP address and find the person, you have to note them all down. Okay, so I hope you understood this one. how the seesaw and this like roller coaster works. Now, here's also the emails you can go through. If you don't believe me, what has happened here, I've got all the emails that are important about this exchange about this guy. And so what I did after this email about the bikini, I said, look, I request, I said your last message was harassing and denigrating, and I'm asking you not to write to me ever again. And I also said, for my own protection and the protection of other victims, I'm going to publish your last message because it was that disgusting, you know. So that's what I did. I just warned him. And then there was a groveling email, but in this groveling email that he sent back, he said, oh Jesus, this I wasn't really aware of that it would be so bad. Yeah, right, motherfucker. After you just used template 17 from the CIA handbook, I'm gonna buy this, right? And he said, oh, I was trying to be funny and, you know, a bit over the top. Well, you know, also be very careful when people are groveling like that, you know, because what we just analyzed was a hardcore Intel template being used. So now all this groveling is just trying to, you know, trigger again pity or mercy. But when it's about your own protection, you shouldn't be tricked by Intel agents into pity or mercy because it's their job to finish you off. They're not going to show you any pity or mercy when it's their turn. So you shouldn't either. Okay. But what's so important is that in this, he revealed and he said, oh, just give me a warning. It will be totally sufficient and also fair, I think. Yeah, fuck off. And he said, in remembrance of court bundle and Duden dude. So a Duden in German is a dictionary. So dictionary dude and court bundle. Now court is a German first name. And this is a, you know, a derogatory joke about the court bundles that we are trying to prepare for court. Okay. So, and he said, oh, and then all this happened on 9/11, so the 9th of November, but 9/11, the 9th of November in German writing would be the other way around in American writing. So 9/11 would be, you know, the 11th of September. So he's making a joke about 9/11 again, you know, again, putting in negativity because he can. So that I just didn't buy it at all. Okay. So I thought, okay, now he just revealed that he's using two other aliases, Court Bundle and Dude and Dude. So let's see what, you know, spam those accounts were sending me. And sure enough, okay, so sorry. So here I'm explaining all the, you know, why the horse video is evidence of somebody having access to my private communication, because it's first of all so unusual and secondly so well timed. Right, then the 1,200 euros and 600 euros were again related to something to do with my life. And then, and now I remember, to top it off, I had a conversation where I used a term that otherwise I don't really use, and I even used it as a joke in the form of hashtag sugar daddy. Something like, oh, well, you know, you could pay for this, hashtag sugar daddy, right? Something to do with targeting. So this is so unusual that you wouldn't really have this combined with the horse video. So statistically speaking, it was far too unlikely for this to be coincidence. So of course, this was pulled out from my from the data that they have got on me through mass surveillance. But anyway, so let's get back to these two, Court Bundle and, you know, the Dude and Dude. Now, when I went back, because I have to say I ignore most of these junk emails, you know, if I can. So I went back and I realized, oh, yeah, I was indeed sent these emails. And what is so interesting is that this operative actually registered specific domains, which again, he's a guy. And I even spoke to this guy over Skype. But both of these domains had to do with women, and the way it was used was in a kind of derogatory way, putting women down. Because the email he chose was Court Bundle at Women at Work, right? Now, this email, right, this Women at Work, he used in May. So it was when I still had the when we were still together in the joint investigation team and on the Techno Forum. So, you know, us women working to get evidence and me trying to get these court bundles started, you know, that was turned into a joke by this guy picking an alias for his spam email related to court bundles and women at work. But that's not, that's not all. In one of his emails, he also, that's further down, right? In one of the emails he sent me using his normal email, he also entitled it the affidavits he called Affidavits in German. So this is Monkey Davids. Okay, I'm not sure if I can translate the entire email. Yeah, but that was in the subject line. So here you can see Affen in German means monkeys, and Davids, maybe it's like David versus Goliath, you know, that kind of association. So it's us monkey victims fighting the David versus Goliath fight against the cartel, you know? And then on it goes his stupid email, you know? And again, the email is again about his underwear, right? And then about his intestines, right? About intestine sealing, about a colon cancer video, and about the consistency of his excrement. These are the words that are highlighted in this email. Okay, so again, you can see that what this entire operatives email is meant to cause is, again, this emotional roller coaster. I was meant to get really annoyed about the Davids have these associations of victims being called monkeys and just being little Davids, you know, versus Goliath. And then I meant to read through all this and actually have visual imagery of his colon cancer, and the consistency of his stool. Right? So this is pretty obvious that this is not a normal email, right? So anyway, imagine you get this sort of stuff, right, from this guy, and then he's using these court bundle and these affidavit mocking tones. But now under the alias court bundle, he sent me a bunch of emails, okay? So here, this email I included because on the 19th of April, he used his normal email address, but he used the alias court bundle. He signed with court bundle. Now here on the 20th of May, I already got a fake email from, let me blow it up, court bundle here at Women at Work. And it said, happy birthday. Opposite side of Taurus in the zodiac is Scorpio. Now, why, you know, I didn't know who court bundle was, and I've forgotten that this guy has mentioned it. So imagine you get spammed by this fake account, court bundle, Women at Work, and you get a happy birthday note. Now, it wasn't even my birthday. So the thing is, why? And it's because my birthday, and the question, when is your birthday and how old are you, was a harassment phrase used by MI5 and by the Germans, by German intel. So this, an email account mocking the court bundle effort, mocking women at work, and then using these harassment triggers is clearly intel harassment, and I would recognize it as such. And I meant to get worked up about it, but doesn't matter. I didn't get worked up about it. I didn't, I think, even read this stuff. But now this is evidence worth gold, because these 3 or 4 things together prove that this guy, who had already been stupid enough to use his personal email address here, Jochen Lambert, right, at GMX, he was stupid enough to sign off with, and his name is court bundle. Wink. So I can prove that this guy, Jochen Lambert, is working for German intel, because he's got access to the mass surveillance data, and he's using harassment triggers that were used by German intel before. So that's why I'm happy pulling the trigger on him. But then imagine how this continues, okay? So in the next email, 3 days later, again using the alias code bundle, he sent me an email with a reference to Hungary. So again, right, it said fasting during Ramadan, Hungary's TV news report the renaming of the city Essen. Essen is in Germany, but Essen also has the meaning of eating. So it's a double pun. But again, no signature. Again, code bundle. The email is code bundle at Women at Work, right? And the reference is to Hungary. And I'm Hungarian. So clearly harassment. And now it gets better. The same guy, you know, a few weeks later on the 7th of June, again uses the alias code bundle. And this is when it started turning sexual. And it just so happens that at the time, I was making a Skype call to a guy in the US. Okay? So I'm about to set up the Skype call to a victim in the US. And then I get this email again from Code Bundle. And this is what it said. Hashtag CIA is loosening my panties. Damn bastards. Or maybe this was a covert signal, the precursor to the whole with, you know, the W in brackets. Deep state will soon get its panties down. Okay, I don't need to, you know, explain to you why, you know, putting the W in brackets and having the whole deep state, you know, why that might be a sexual reference. But imagine, right? You get this time thing. So, and again, right, sexual. And then it went on. The next time was on the 1st of August. So, you know, almost 2 months later. And now these sexual references became overt. So what this account did is it quoted one of my tweets, which was at the end of July. And I said, trying to work outside the bunker in my dining room as it's baking hot in Zurich and I can't take the heat. So the account highlighted that it was baking hot. And then it said, here, a little piece of advice from a cooling pro bro. Just take your thin pajamas and hold it under cold water, then wring it out and put it on. Now, how would this person know that my pajamas are thin? Unless they have been to my flat. How do they know I'm wearing pajamas and not a nightgown at that time? Right? So again, intel harassment. And then it says, you will have the best cooling effect on the planet, apart from swimming in a pool or sleeping in the fridge. After 2 hours, just repeat the whole procedure. Let me know if you need further assistance via webcam. 50 euros per 30 minutes. Now, assistance via webcam is again a reference to me doing consulting over Skype. Okay. And it just so happens that I had, you know, said to somebody, okay, if it's going to stay this hot, I'm going to literally take a t-shirt and make it wet and just sit in it. So this is an echoing what I said again to somebody over the internet. But now look how it continues. I'm sent pictures of a guy here, right? I'm not sure if you can see it. You should just really take it in. These are the images that you're sent if you're fighting, you know, a global genocide by guys in Germany. And then I'm sent this, you know, Miss Wet T-shirt contest with guys standing around and taking pictures of this woman whose breasts you can see through her, you know, white T-shirt. And it says, maybe also consider putting a wet towel around your head. In the film Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger was told to do so because then he could not be tracked anymore by the chip in his head. Then he was instructed to put this little apparatus into his nose to pull out the chip, which was successful. And then I'm shown this image in the very same email. And by the way, when the email is not printed, these images appear one after the other. Now, it just so happens that I've been implanted. I already had nose chips, but I was implanted with yet another nose chip in Germany, when I was in Germany at the start of 2018. They actually broke into my parents' home and they implanted me again. So I'm having a German intel operative who's done sexual references and shows me this image. And now you can imagine, what the connotations are meant to be, what the emotional associations are meant to be in all this. Okay, and then on it goes. The other emails I got from the same alias account were one to do with, well, it's here, John Loftus in big letters, and then the title is My Good Run. Now, if you read good run fast, it sounds like good run. And Gudrun Loftus was the woman who died and I believe was murdered at St. John's College when I was at St. John's College. So how fucking creepy is this? Now, this guy, Loftus, was the US Attorney General, and in the section of war crimes of the Ministry of Justice. Okay, but again, there's a reference to somebody who was murdered. Creepy, isn't it? And this is an email that's not that long ago. I got it in September 2018. So just a few months ago. And then it's like I'm shown an image with a gun, some random images, and Geronimo. Like fucking weird. Fucking weird. I'm not even going to go into deciphering this. This is just intel bullshit. Okay, so again, look at how these operatives work, right? At first, they absolutely spam you with emails. They want to have cognitive overload. Then they send you emails where they want to give you the intel roller coaster emotionally. And then they blast you with sexual content and with references to murder. So as soon as you have that, you have the recurring themes, excuse me, of sex and of death. You can guess that you're dealing with a sex cult and a death cult. In other words, you're dealing with the Masons, with the Jesuits, with Vatican intel. In other words, you're dealing with German intel. Right here. And then I got another email on the 27th of September. This was shortly after my car crash in France, right, where somebody smashed into me from behind. And here I get an advert for the active city break. Here, okay, again, the reference is to something really unpleasant that happened in France. And the entire effect that is meant to be brought about is this of a creepy stalker who keeps reminding you of accidents, of death, and makes some creepy sexual references. Very weird. And then, okay, I think the final message that I got from this Court Bundle alias was that, he just sent a message saying, Katherine, my dear, today I have a quite serious concern. A lot of men are writing to me asking for men editions of your shows, meaning a monthly show of 60-minute duration, comprising the complete content of the other shows. They say they know 100% that this is possible from the everyday lives of husbands. So let me pass this on to you. Maybe you can realize 2 times something adequate. I don't know what this even means. Yours sincerely, since yearly's Court, don't shoot the messenger. Now, apart from the shit grammar, again, the women at work, what this is meant to be is, again, like a male joke of, oh, women talk so much. Why don't you just summarize it? Right? Why don't you just cut it down? And we just want a text version and stuff like that. Okay. Again, you're meant to get worked up, have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of feminist impulse, bubble up in you. But really, the impulse that should bubble up in you is not, do the men really think that, or do they not think that? Has something to do with me being a woman? What you should think is everything. What this has to do with is German intel wasting taxpayers' money on paying a lot of wankers. Okay. And then this is the entire listing from this alias. And you can look at it yourself and you can make up your mind. But it didn't stop there. There was a second alias chosen and also referenced by Jochen Lambert. And this one was Duden Dude. So the Duden is a German dictionary. So it was dictionary dude at alphawoman.de. Alphawoman.de. So in these emails, it's Jochen basically pointing out that I've made spelling mistakes and stuff like that. And I think the last email I got from him 2 days ago, right? He was pointing out that the website of Harry Hoichi has been hacked and is not working. Okay. Now, a website's being hacked. If you click on the link, which I don't encourage that you do, because I click on all these links because I just don't care anymore. There's so many intel agencies on my computer by now. I just really don't give a shit about having yet another Trojan. So, when you click on the link, you can see that this is not a normal website. It says, oh, you've won, and it just opens yet another link and so on. But the point is, when these URLs get hijacked, that's again an intel operation. And why would this guy be checking out Harry Hoichi's website right now, right at the time when it's being hacked? So in other words, what I would conclude from this is that German intel hacked this website, probably in conjunction with the Swiss, and then they made this little spectacle out of it, and then probably they use it to train their little grunts how to take over my computer and stuff like that, how to send fake emails to then get access to somebody's computer. But anyway, what I want you to understand is that when you come this guy is a real life psychological operative, okay? But when you come across these guys, try not to react emotionally, try to analyze their method, and then see if you can find the same method anywhere else. Okay, that's what's really important, because what is being done here very slowly and very kind of clumsily with email will be done super fast, maybe in the YouTube chats and certainly over social media. Okay, now down here, I'm not going to go through this. These are all the times when I asked Jochen Lambert to be taken off his, spam email list. I asked him on the 20th of February, which was ignored. I asked him on the 25th of April, which was again ignored. I asked him on the 9th of November, it was ignored. And then again on the 26th of January. And I said, look, the last 2 times, I said, I don't want to be contacted by you ever again. And should I get one more email from this guy, I'm going to make an even bigger hoo-ha out of this. But this is basically, 3 strikes and you're out. So this was the 3 strikes. 1, 2, 3 requests to stop. You didn't stop. This is the 4th strike. I'm making this public. This is what happened here. Okay. So anyway, I hope you found this educational. Now, one thing, I'm going to skip Horst Kummer, and I'm going to say that I've seen exactly the same thing on another email list. And by the way, I think the American email lists work just the same. Okay. If you see the American email lists, they operate just like the German email lists because they are both probably set up by the CIA. And again, the idea is to spam you with negativity. Okay. So if this is now the listing for the German emails, the German email list called the Betroffenengruppe. This means it is the group of people who are affected. Okay. And every single time you get an email, your email inbox will show this word, Betroffenengruppe. Okay. And immediately it signals to you that you are betroffen, that you are affected. Okay. And it also signals to you that you are part of a huge group. So if the group hasn't solved the problem, how on earth do you dream about solving this problem? That's what is being signaled. And again, right? I was very patient with this account, and I thought, fine, it could be that it's just a person who's a victim, and that's the only thing that they know how to do is to send out emails and news. Let them do it. But I watched this now for 2 years, and I can say that it's exactly the same thing that Jochen Lambert did. What is the telltale sign is that with these emails, you get about 4 to 11 emails per day. Okay. So if you don't believe me, I've put in, the evidence here. You have, for example, 27th of January, 27th, 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 20, da, 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 and then 26 down here. Damn. I mean, imagine. And then reading Betroffen and Gruppe in your email, Google email every single time. And again, the topics are just a patchwork of random stuff. Random, no program. And the idea is that you are given this sensation of being overwhelmed. If every single one of these emails would be following a program, these people could have really put something together by now. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is to keep you helpless on your back without actually tying you down helpless on your back. It's meant to be a mind fuck trick. So here's the emails. And this is now, this is just the emails I got in 2018, guys. Okay, you can see I made it much smaller, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. In 2018, I got 400 emails. But in 2017, just in the last 3 quarters, I got 600 emails. Look at this. And then the telltale sign is when you ask them to stop, they refuse. So the entirety of 2018, I was asking Georg Pickner to please remove me from this email list. And as you can see from the emails I got in 2018, I didn't succeed because I got 400 emails. I got literally 400 fucking emails, despite the fact that I requested to be removed from this list on the 3rd of January 2018. 3 days into the year, I sent an email and I said, could I please be removed from this email list? Thank you, Katherine Horton. And it went to the Opfergruppe at mindcontrolnews.de, right? On the 3rd of January, I requested it, and then I still got 400 emails. And as you know, a year has got 365 days. So I was not just fucked, I was fucked over every single day, and on some days twice, by my request being ignored. So after a lot of emails between the 3rd of January and the 8th of January, I said again, could you please remove me from this email list here? Please remove me from this email list, Katherine. No reaction. The emails kept coming. On the 19th of February, I said, please, hello, could someone please remove me from the Betroffenen Gruppe email list? I am getting up to 11 emails. This was the 27th of January, and on average 5 to 7. For me, that's spamming. Thank you very much, Katherine Horton. 19th of February. And then I get an email back from Georg, and this is now very interesting because by this time I had already decided I am dealing with a psychological warfare operative because I sent 3 requests and no reaction. So 3 strikes and you're out, right? And this is now, by the time he was already out, I got this email from Georg. So he said, hello, Katherine, I'm going to remove you. Beziehungsweise, or it means actually, I will remove you, or rather, I will not send you any emails. So the phrasing is interesting. It appears that I will continue be on some kind of list, but he will refrain from sending emails to me. Well, that's interesting. And then he continues, I'm asking myself how things should continue. Nobody is taking care of the German victims. As a single victim, one doesn't have a chance. Only as a bigger group is one credible. You give victims hope, but it's rather unrealistic when one has recognized how the system works and how one after the other is being taken out. I would need support, but nobody wants to do this work. Or nobody wants to do it, and there are very few people who are capable of this work. Alone, we are very easily taken out. Greetings, Georg. Now, let's analyze this email, okay? Because again, you can see a psychological warfare template here at work, even though it doesn't look at it like that. So number one, he says, okay, I'll take you off the list, or rather, I will not send you emails. So the whole opening is, you will stay on our list. There's nothing you can do. You will stay on our list, right? Now that's already is meant to put victims into the sensation of helplessness, right? Very subtle, very, very subtle. And he says, but I ask myself how things should continue. So when a psychological warfare operative wants to really wrap you around their little finger, they will come over to you and pretend like they are trying to think through your situation, or that they are sympathizing with you, or they are forming an opinion after they have analyzed your situation. So he's telling me that he's wondering how things should continue, and I am meant to understand this like he doesn't know how things should continue for me outside this German Betroffenengruppe. Okay? And he says nobody cares for German victims. Well, I'm also a German victim, right? So that's another subtle hint, prompt. And then really he takes the biscuit when he says, as a single victim, one doesn't stand a chance. Only a big group has credibility, right? Again, it's inducing fear in the victim. It's like, oh my God, if I don't stick to the group, no one's going to believe me. This is bullshit. I mean, look at this group. They're a bunch of kooks. You're much better off on your own. You should have nothing to do with these people. That's the truth, right? But nevertheless, what this guy's kind of implying is, well, you're lost without us, right? Very manipulative. And then he's trying another method because he probably guesses that all of this shit is going to just, roll off like water off a duck's back. And then he says, you're giving victims hope, but it's rather unrealistic. Once one has recognized how the system works. So what this does is he's trying to scratch at what he suspects is my intellectual ego. So he's trying to hook in there and say, okay, you're giving people hope, but you haven't analyzed the system correctly, right? And that's why you're unrealistic. So look at how subtly he is pretending to understand systems. And that's my thing. That's what I always said. I said, look, the reason I'm saying certain things is because I've analyzed the system. I understand how it functions based on systems analysis. Now, I've got some dude in Germany who claims to be some unemployed guy who's totally helpless, come one up on me and say, oh, well, you haven't really understood how the system works. Really? Am I meant to believe that? I would have to be extremely damaged and insecure. Right? And the one thing that you will not have if you've ever gone through the Oxford system is insecurity. Because if you have a shred of insecurity, you die because the other psychos are going to finish you off at that elite university, right? So I'm sorry, Bundesnachrichtendienst, you fucked up the psychological analysis again. You're not going to get under my skin trying to, trigger some intellectual insecurity, because there isn't any after I've gone through Oxford. But anyway, that is the method that they're using. And I'm not telling you that arrogance is a good thing. And I'm not encouraging you to be arrogant, but I encourage you to have a solid ego, not a big ego. Have a solid ego where you know that what you're doing and the conclusions you have reached are the right ones. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. And if you have come to a conclusion based on the evidence you have seen, then you're probably right, and that's that. Okay? Unless somebody presents you with other evidence. But if they don't present any other evidence and they just question you to make you insecure, you have to call their bluff. Okay? And really, I am sorry that I go through my emails in that great detail, but I'm trying to teach you, using the one example I have, tangible example, how these real life intelligence agents work. Because these guys are professionals. This is what I'm trying to get across to you. They might masquerade like unemployed people, and they might masquerade like really damaged victims, but they're not. They're highly trained, well, I don't know if I want to say highly trained. They are trained people, and they're not very clever, thank goodness. But, you know, they are trained. They are doing this as a job. Okay, so the next point. And then he says, once you've understood the system, you can see how easy it is to switch individuals off, so to take them out. So again, you know, and look at the punctuation. This is not written as a full text. This is written like individual lines, as if he's writing a program. So one sentence, I'm wondering how things should continue, open brackets for you, you know. He says nobody takes care of the German victims. This is trying to trigger the female instinct to help and protect, right? And then he says, as a single victim, one stands no chance. Only bigger groups have credibility. This is trying to trigger insecurity, right? Trying to pull you into the group to seek help and support and backup. You know, it implies that you are incredible or unbelievable if you're on your own, which is not true. And then he says, oh, but you're giving people the unrealistic hopes, and you really haven't understood the system and how it really works. And then the final line of the program is here. Once you have understood how the system works, you recognize how easy it is to take individuals out. And that's the threat. It's like, if you're not in our group, they will take you out, which is bullshit, because each one of us have many, many other groups that they belong to. There's no compulsion to belong to the Opfergruppe or the Betroffenengruppe, right, of the Stasi. But that's what they want. They want you in, you know, they want you on their list. How subtle. But anyway, and then he says, oh, but I would need support. So now it's like, you know, oh, please help me. I'm so helpless. Nobody wants to do this work. And there are so few people who are capable to do this, of doing this work. Now, after apparently having been bollocked of not having gotten my systems analysis right, he's trying to build me up again. It's like, oh, there are only few people who are capable. So in other words, oh, please help me, because you're one of the few people who is capable. Well, this is also bullshit, right? But you can see how the psychological manipulation works. And then final sentence, alone or individually, we are very easy to take out. Interesting. I mean, this email contains very few lines, but every single one of these lines is like a highly crafted, psychologically manipulative message, isn't it? What coincidence. And then what happened, so this was on the 19th of February, at the start of last year, when I requested to be removed from the email list. Immediately I got this email from him. Let's look at the times. I am emailing at 7:40 a.m. He replies with this manipulative email at 12 o'clock. And then I reply, you know, at 12:40, reinforcing, and I said, okay, hello, Georg. It's exactly because of that. I replied, I said, if one gets daily half a dozen emails, or if one sends half a dozen emails, which only describe the misery, but if one doesn't get active oneself, one is taken out without ever having done anything against that, right? And then I said, I have to keep my inbox clear, you know, because I'm working on these court cases. So I have to keep my inbox clear for that communication. So this was my reply. And look, this was at 12:40. So I had sent 2 emails on the 19th of February requesting to be taken off the email list. And what does this guy Georg do on the very same day, at 11:15 on the same day, right? Less than 12 hours, but still on the same day after my last request, he sends me another mass email. And then again, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I say again on the same day, please, could you finally remove me from this email list? Now I ask you, who in their right mind would do such a thing? Well, the people who would do such a thing are Intel operatives, because what they are saying is, no, you will get our spam. No, you will have to swallow our psychological manipulation. And there's nothing you can do. Right? And here's the evidence. And now, between the 19th of February and the 7th of September, when I requested again to be removed from this email list, you can tell that there are many, many months, and you can scroll up and you can actually count how many emails there are between the 7th of February, which must be somewhere here, and September, which must be somewhere, I think it's somewhere here, right? Or maybe even further. No, it's even further than that. September is somewhere here. So just look at the sheer number of emails I got after requesting 4 times or 5 times to be removed from this email list. This is not a normal email list, right? So again, on the 7th of September, I emailed this guy, and now careful, look what he replies, because again, he writes back to manipulate. But let's look at the psychological tricks. Now, this is a longer email, but I'll translate really quickly. He says, hello, Katherine. Okay, I have only sent you now the most important emails of the Opfergruppe. I thought that one should somehow stay in touch. After all, you want to have feedback and opinions from the other victims. Because this is what you're saying in your videos. Well, I would like to have feedback from the victims, but I don't really want to be spammed by Georg Pickner. I think there's a huge difference between the two, right? Anyway, but look how subtle it was again. He's like, oh, but I only send you the most important emails. I mean, fuck me. If these are the most important emails, which are the unimportant emails, Georg? Right? Because you sent me 400 emails in 2018, and these are only the most important ones. Okay. So again, look, he's like, oh, you're staying on the list, but I've just sent you the most important ones. And hey, you do want feedback, don't you? That's what you said. So again, he's trying to draw you in and trying to make it sound like you asked for it, which you didn't, or which I didn't, right? Subtle trick. And he says, look, so it's like, oh, but you asked for it, and now comes the negativity, and now brace yourselves. He says, I also don't think everything that you're doing is right. For example, the campaign for the neighbors, so the neighborhood campaign, can get victims into psychiatry, or can get their flats, their rental contracts cancelled. To give such recommendations is dangerous and leichtsinnig. I think that's kind of like Leichtsinn is levity or naivety, So this is dangerous if one is naive. Okay. So he's saying, oh, this entire neighborhood campaign is just dangerous. So for those people who don't know, the neighborhood campaign, you can access it here on Stop 007. You can scroll down to the campaigns burning down the house of crime. And this is the information campaign for the neighbors. Okay, so all this is template letters to inform your neighborhood, and I have sent it to 500 homes in Switzerland, here in my direct neighborhood. This is to inform the neighbors about things like how do microwave weapons work. This is a very long letter with everything they need to know, including the fact that should they ever get cancer, they might have a claim against the government for damages. This is something that most neighbors are very interested in hearing about. you know? So it has diagrams, it has all this sort of stuff. It's explaining how all these directed energy weapons work. This is the neighborhood campaign. And as I said, I stand by what I do because I did it myself. I took my neighborhood, right? And you can see the dates when I've contacted them all. In April here. In April and June, right? I contacted all these houses, 500 in total. Okay. So this is the neighborhood campaign, and according to this German intel operative, he really doesn't like me campaigning for us to inform the neighborhood. Why might that be? It's because as soon as you inform your neighborhood, you start mobilizing people who have a direct stake in it, who have a direct stake in it being shut down. It's because these directed energy weapons reflect off the walls and your neighbors are being hit as well, even if they don't notice it. Okay? So this is why German intel is so pissed off about the neighborhood campaigns, because it really starts gnawing away at their entire schemes. Not least because German intel would hire flats where a lot of people would be going in and out day and night. And when your neighborhood knows, suddenly neighbors talk, and suddenly neighbors find out which flats are dodgy. And suddenly the neighbors can put one and one together, right? That's why this German intel operative had to express his disdain at the neighborhood campaign. Now, if you're not prepared for this, and if you don't know, if you haven't recognized this guy as an intel operative, you might actually be discouraged from doing a neighborhood campaign. Because you might think, oh, he might be right. I might end up in psychiatry, or they, might cancel my rental contract. Now, first of all, just because you're informing your neighbors about the facts will not end you in psychiatry. In fact, if you land in psychiatry, your neighbors will hear about it and they will immediately think, oh shit, maybe it's true. Because look what the authorities just did. Right? People are not that stupid. So as soon as anybody's put into psychiatry, the neighbors are activated. Right? And this is very unlikely to happen. Right? It's much more likely, and it's much wiser strategy for Intel to just sit it out and hope that the neighbors will just think you're kook. As soon as they arrest you and drag you off into psychiatry, the neighbors will immediately understand, hang on, that's a bit out of proportion. It's probably true what this person said. Oh shit. Right? So that's what you need to know. But also, should your rental contract be cancelled, it means that your landlord is involved. If your landlord is involved, you are in grave danger. And then you should most definitely move anyway. Okay? You might weather it if your landlord is super and really supportive. But if your landlord is so corrupt to actually cancel your rental agreement, then it means your landlord has already been paid off. And your landlord might be the person to mount the weapons that will kill you. So it's actually not a bad thing. It's unpleasant in the short term because you have to look for a new flat. But then, you cast the dice again and you're out of that hellhole. You have a new chance to maybe, have a better home. And yes, flats are different. For me, life got a lot better now that I don't live in that Nazi enclave anymore, so it's not that bad. But anyway, this is how to guard against this bullshit. Once you've identified somebody as an intel operative, you cannot take their words on trust anymore. You have to do your own thinking. Okay. And then you have to turn everything that they do around and figure out, why do they tell me this? What do they want me to do? And when you figure that out, you have to do the opposite. Okay. So after I read this from Georg, I actually thought, thank fuck I ran a neighborhood campaign. It was probably one of the best things I did. Okay. But then look, so he just kicked me, right in the stomach. And then he says, but you also do very good work, for which I'm thankful. Well, this is not really specified what he considers very good, whereas what he considers really bad is highly specified, right? So I'm meant to be discouraged from something specific, but he doesn't encourage me for something specific. Odd, isn't it? Because most of the time, if victims find something really good, they would come to me and they would say things like, oh, you know what? I really like the tsunami email campaign. Can we have it back? That's what normal people would do. They would want stuff. They would want the good stuff. When you get somebody who's very specific about what they don't want, but are not very specific about what they do want to shut these crimes down, they are most likely an intel operative. Okay, now, I'm sorry I have to translate, but I hope you can still follow. So what this guy said next is he said, I am not going to send you any emails from the Opfergruppe anymore. Well, he lied, okay, because after the 7th of September, I still got a shed load of these. But anyway, so he said, no, I'm not going to send you any more emails from the Opfergruppe. If the collaboration and exchange with other victims doesn't interest you, then oh, sorry, I screwed up the sentence. So he says, well, now I'm not going to send you any emails from the Opfergruppe anymore. Now that the collaboration and the exchange with other victims doesn't interest you, which is something that irritates me a bit. So he's implying that by rejecting his messages, I would reject other victim messages. The truth is, I am talking to a lot of victims on a one-to-one basis. A lot of them. I'm replying to their emails directly. I don't need the emails of the Opfergruppe to stay in touch, but he's trying to monopolize. He's trying to have his platform, use his platform to get into my brain every day, 5 to 11 times, and he doesn't want me to reject that. And that's why he's irritated. And he's now doing a psychological manipulation trick to say, well, if you're rejecting me, you are rejecting all the other victims as well. Highly, highly manipulative. Okay, next sentence. And this is a bombshell. He says, really, I think it's good that you have that the separation from Ramola D has taken place. Because sorry, just a second. Okay, much better. So he says, I'm glad that the separation with Ramola D has taken place because you have dominated the videos too strongly with your topics. And because of that, Ramola D didn't have as big a platform. So she was kind of like sidelined. And he says she goes into more depth and is concentrating on the most important so that there's a clear thread in the thoughts. Okay, now this is very interesting because I'm not going to criticize this. This might be his opinion, right? But what is very interesting is that during the breakup, there were several people who contacted Ramola and said, oh, sorry, I'm now hiccuping. The techno forum is getting far too disorganized. You're just jumping about too much. And the people who contacted Ramola and said that were the two men who we invited to be a member of Techno, but they declined. They chickened out. And the first time Ramola came and reported this comment, we all laughed, and she as well. And she said, well, it's rich coming from them because we gave them the chance to do all this with us and they chickened out. So now we pulled it up ourselves and now they're sitting on the fence and they're criticizing us. So fuck them, right? This was our opinion at the time. And we all agreed to just ignore these comments. But then when it came to the breakup, Ramola used that argument and threw it back at me. Okay. Now, this is very, very, very interesting. Okay. And also the accusation that Ramola goes into more depths. I think her and I, we are focusing on different topics, and we're both going into a great deal of depth. But anyway, what's very interesting is that a German psychological warfare operative would be using this argument that was one of the wedges that split up the group, and would mention it to me, right? The entire purpose of this is clear, right? He's trying to accuse me and say, look, all these people, they just left you alone because, you know, you just can't do it. You've just screwed it up. So again, this is something that you would say to a person if you want to draw this person into a group, if you want to give them insecurity, to think, oh my God, yes, I screwed it up and now I'm all alone. And if I break from the Opfergruppe, you know, here, the German group, then I screw it up again. But again, this is misleading, right? Because the two things have nothing to do with each other. And at the end of the day, who the hell is this guy Georg? Does he have an online video thing every week? No. So what the hell does he know, right? So again, just a manipulation trick. And then he continues. He says, it was a big mistake. It was a big mistake of you, from you, to criticize Ramola D publicly in your videos. It should have stayed all intern. So it should have been all, you know, been kept internally within the group, right? He says she was in the right with her argumentation in this argument, according to my opinion. Right now, this is a full frontal attack. So this guy says it was a big mistake of mine to criticize Ramola publicly. Now, if we go back and we just remind ourselves about the story with Ramola, like, note that I'm getting this email on the 7th of September 2018, right? And what happened is that on this, where's the timeline? Let me go to the timeline of the breakup. And what had happened is that on the 2nd, the techno-crime fighters had broken up. On the 3rd of August, Ramola had called Melanie Richard in Belgium and had told her not to work with me. On the 3rd of August, Thomas McFarlane contacted me and said that, you know, it was all fine. It was very friendly. 3 weeks later, he slandered me without warning. I made one public response about the breakup, and then I kept my silence. In the meantime, Barbara Hartwell waded in. Ramola republished Barbara Hartwell's article against me. Thomas McFarlane brought out his defamation video against me. Then Thomas McFarlane brought out and, you know, tweeted against me. Then he brought out a second video against me. Then Ramola wrote her article defaming me, and then published Thomas McFarlane. Then Thomas McFarlane tweeted against me on Twitter, and again, and then Ramola started to pressure Melanie into stopping the collaboration with me. And if you notice, all these things are happening and people are acting against me, and I haven't said a word. The only thing I did is, after I was kicked out from Techno, I gave my side of the story. That's it. That's it. Meanwhile, there's Ramola and Thomas McFarlane and Barbara Hartwell publicly criticizing me. And I'm not saying a word. And on the 7th of November, I have this German intel operative tell me that it was a big mistake to criticize Ramola publicly. So again, he's trying to introduce an asymmetry and trying to get me angry, right? Because I'm meant to get upset and, you know, feel like, oh, why is he saying that? You know, he's saying something utterly ridiculous so that I am provoked, right? But sorry, this is so ridiculous, I'm not even going to get into it. And then when he says, oh, yeah, she was right about your argumentation. Well, you know, she claimed a lot of things that are false. For example, that I'm an agent, right? Which, by the way, Georg should know, because he isn't German agent and I'm not. So I'm clearly not on his team. And look, here's a German intel operative doing psychological operations against me. He wouldn't be doing it if I were on his team, right? So I'm not. So anyway, but you can see that what is meant to be induced is some form of anger. So this is again the CIA roller coaster here, right? Do not engage. Take a step back and figure out what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you angry. And then he said, I'm very curious what is even going to turn out with the measurements. So this, now he's talking about my work with Melanie. You know, look at the speed with which he's hopping back and forth. And he says, it's a pity that you guys don't have any results, like initial results, and nothing, that no videos that you can present about those results. Well, this is wrong again, because we do have initial results, and all the victims who were involved in the scanning already got their reports with the initial results. So he's talking nonsense, right? It's just to criticize. And he says, so we can't, he's claiming we can't publish any results, and we have only been focusing on the fundraising so far. And then he says, this is something I find very questionable, and I'm very, very suspicious, probably like other victims as well, as far as I can tell. So what he's doing is he's now finishing off on trying to put in as many insecurity points as possible. And he's trying to trigger me into saying, oh, how can you say this about Ramola? And yes, there are measurements. We did measurements. And yes, there are results. And no, we're not just focusing on the fundraising, right? This is the entire purpose. And what this is, it's a trick to draw you into a conversation. And then through that conversation, these operatives would try to put some sort of emotional tenterhooks on you. So they would then maybe be really nice to you and try to make you think, oh, well, he's not that bad. He just made some constructive criticism. But look, now he's really nice, right? But do not engage, because all this is a trick. All this is just an emotional roller coaster that you're meant to get into. And it's meant to be action and reaction. This guy is trying to piss me off. He's trying to draw me into a long-winded argument. And then in the argument, he wants to have more things to hold on to, right? More things to talk about and maybe figure out how to turn me. But the way to deal with these people is to be just like ice and say, nope, I just want you to leave me alone. Goodbye, right? So again, he manipulated me. I didn't reply. And again, the spam continues. So again, on the 22nd, I send back an email and I say, please remove me from the mailing list. Thank you, Katherine. Right? The same mailing list. And again, this guy Georg replies. And this was the last time, oh no, the second to last time he replied. Look, I'm not going to go through great detail. I'm just going to flash it up because now you can see the pattern, okay? So imagine the 30th of September, after 9 months of trying to get off his email list, I say again, please remove me from your email list. And what does he say now? He says, hello, Katherine. Can you please name me the reason, or write me the reason why you are not reacting to the informations I'm sending you, which could also be important. Is it suspicion? So what this is, you can't answer these questions with yes or no. These are long-winded verbal questions, which you don't even have to answer. So what's the point? The point is to get you into a conversation, right? That's what they want. And then he finished off with, oh, work with the victims is very important. I'm also relying on other people. One cannot do it alone. Goes Georg. Again, psychological, roller coaster. It's really important work that we're doing. You have to be part of this, right? You have to help us. It's really important. Next sentence of the program. Oh, I also need help. Please trigger on your female instinct to support people. Please, please trigger. And then the final sentence is, you can't do everything on your own. You can't do it on your own. It's impossible. You need us. Can you see? So the manipulation is involve me in a conversation, try to draw me in based on my ego, try to trigger on my female instinct to care for others, and then tell me that I will not survive on my own. Very interesting. Very carefully crafted, isn't it? Okay. Now we figured it out. Now it's so easy to spot people's bullshit. Okay. So this was, I think, the did I miss an email? Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, I missed an email because on the 22nd of September, I again requested to be removed from the email list, and then Georg replied as well. So this was the one before this one. And again, he says, hello, Katherine. He's trying a different technique. He says, hello, Katherine. Well, then I ask myself, why do you speak for the victims in your videos when in reality they don't interest you? Perhaps you should then make it clear in your videos that nobody should contact you. Right? And he says this whole thing doesn't fit together. Now, this is again manipulative because he's implying that by rejecting him, I'm rejecting all the victims. I am not. I'm just rejecting a German intel operative, right? But look at the manipulation. I'm just asking myself, why do you speak for victims in your videos when they don't interest you in reality? What nonsense, Georg. The reason why I don't want to read your emails is so that I've got more time for real victims, you tosser. That's the truth, right? So you can just see every single trick in the book has been tried by this guy. And I can tell you that to this day, right, after all this, last time he replied, right, on the 30th of September, I wrote back to him and I said, look, this is just my decision. I want to concentrate in future on certain subjects and certain things, and I want to switch off all the distractions. I have never signed up for the Betroffenengruppe, right? And I don't like it when decisions are made about me without my consent. Thank you, Katherine. But he ignored it. The spam emails continued. So again, after the 30th of September, I was ignored. So I emailed again on the 23rd of November, and then on the 25th of November, and then on the 7th of December. And every single request has been ignored. So in total, I have been trying throughout the entirety of 2018 to get off this fucking email list of the Betroffenengruppe without success, right? Emailed in January twice, February 1 to 3 times, in September twice, in September 3 times, 4 times, in November once, twice, and in December once. And I'm still not off this email list. So what I did now in 2019 is I just blocked the Betroffenengruppe. There's no way these people will get through to me now, right? No way. But what I hope that I explained to you here is that what these people want is they want to get into your head. Okay, they want to spam you, and they want to spam you with negativity, because the last thing that they want is for you to be strong and confident and know what you're doing. What they want is for you to be in this state where you're holding your head is exploding, you can't even hold a thought, and from left and right you have these devils shouting at you and just wearing you down. You're meant to be in a deep and dark and black pit where you think this will never end. And that's why you should never go to the police, you should never talk to doctors, you should never talk to your neighbors, and most especially, you should never go to a court about this. And this is the power of psychological warfare, because it works. It works on most victims. But I'm telling you, everything that they're saying is a lie. I have talked to police officers and I got through. I have talked to doctors and I got through. I have been to court and I have already great victories that are not the ultimate victory, but are already stepping stones. I have informed the entire Supreme Court of the United Kingdom about these things. I have informed a lot of my colleagues and 500 of my neighbors. So that's a huge work. And I got there by not giving a toss about what these people are saying. And now what I want to leave you with is the mental mindset that will allow you to circumvent all of their bullshit, okay? What you need to know is the following. Number one, you as a person have an incredible power, because as soon as you open your mouth, everybody around you will start connecting to you. And psychopaths fear this because no other psychopath connects to anybody else. So psychopaths cannot recruit other psychopaths like this. But we humans, we have this through empathy. You can raise an army through empathy. So what you should do is talk to as many people as you can. You have to talk. Silencing you is the first step of psychological warfare operations, right? Isolating you is number two. And the reason why silencing and isolating are so important to them, it's because it is your greatest power. By recruiting others and by talking to a lot of people, you are mobilizing a network. And your network has a reach much bigger than you, okay? The average person is in touch with 60 people on average. This is counting work colleagues, neighbors, those people you keep in regular contact with. Now that's 60 people. That's already a little army, okay? Maybe you can't convince all of them, but if you can convince half of them or just stick in their mind with your story, you already have a school class. 30 people is a school class. That's a sizable little army. Now, when you trigger and trigger people into action and recruit your not so regular network, maybe people you met, once per year, that's much bigger than 60. If you start recruiting people over Twitter and social media, you can actually recruit serious armies. When you have a couple of thousand people as your followers, that would be a sizable army. Okay, throughout most of human warfare, armies were the size of a couple of thousand. Right? So in other words, over Twitter, you can recruit just by tweeting what previously a king would have recruited. That's the size of an army you can recruit. This is why the intelligence agencies shit themselves when victims go on social media. That's why your Facebook accounts have to be blocked all the time. That's why Twitter is shadow banning you, because it's the greatest threat. You trigger empathy, people kick into action, you can express yourself, you can communicate about these horrific crimes, and you can identify the perpetrators. That is the worst thing for them, right? So what you need to understand is you are the most powerful person around. You can, if you just get going, you can recruit an army the size of a medieval army for a king. And you don't even have to try that hard, right? And the other thing is, you can debunk these motherfuckers. You can build a website, and if you don't know, I will show you this year how to do it, and you can put their names out there. You can put their techniques out there, how they try to wear you down and make you feel worthless, and you can debunk their bullshit arsenal. And once these tricks have been uncovered, they stop working. So in other words, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months of us working together, we can entirely disable the psychological warfare arsenal that the CIA and the German intelligence services have spent decades honing. Because once you know what to look for, this shit doesn't work on you anymore. And in fact, you have methods to turn it around on them. Okay, so this is why I spend so much time today talking about this. And I'm sorry you can't see my face, but I do look very, very tired by now. And this is why I should go through this in great detail, this video, but more importantly, your own emails, and try to figure out who are those dodgy people, what is dodgy about their messages, and can you see if they are trying to box you in? Are they trying to make you feel small? Are they trying to make you feel ugly or stupid or helpless or like nobody's going to believe you? Okay, because as soon as you have that, those people are most likely operatives. And everything that they're telling you is a big fat lie. You are so powerful today in the year 2019. You are much more powerful than any human has ever been before. You are more powerful in 2019 than you were in 2018 because the networks of social media are still growing. People are still connecting to social media. People are still figuring out how it's working, and more people are coming online and are finding you. So your power is growing exponentially with network maths, right? Which is really cool, actually. It is the most empowering thing. So just by sitting on your ass, you become ever more powerful every day against them. So if you actually get off your ass and get going, you will just advance in leaps and bounds in 2019 like you haven't done in 2018 and 2017 before. Okay, so it is for this reason that psychological warfare operations and directed energy weapon assaults are going nuts right now, because these people begin to cotton on to how powerful we are in shutting down this crime cartel. And remember, in social media, there are 3.5 degrees of separation now. This means that on average, you can reach any person on the planet by just 3.5 hops from one person to the next. That is amazing. And in the case of Donald Trump, you can tweet at him directly. So why don't you? Just use the chance while we have it. Okay? Make your opinions heard. Get your case heard. Reach out to these people. Okay? And really start to insulate yourself against the pernicious operations of the psychological warfare operatives, because they are very, 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 very bad. You know, if I want, you have to think about this image here of this woman who could do so many things, and instead she's just sitting there holding her head in her hands, despairing. And what we should say to her is, look, these people shouting at you, they are just drawings. They are just fake. They are not real. Reality looks different. And in reality, you are all beautiful, you are all intelligent, and you're all super powerful. So get going. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys could still hear me to the end. I don't have to chat today, but I hope you join me soon. And I just want to say have a good day, and thank you very much for listening, and bye for now.